Saquon's revenge game did not disappoint. He had 187 yards from scrimmage, while the Giants team had 119 total. And Greg's guy, Danny Dimes, got benched. Looking for a spark. The old looking for a spark from Brian Daboll. Not good. Saquon's numbers yesterday, pretty good. Second most rushing yards in any game, and then he actually took his foot off the gas so other players on the Eagles could eat against the Giants defense. That's nice.
So 3 quarters.
Brew, the Eagles blow out 7-0.
I think it's something. This is the type of win that could end a supernatural funk.
I mean, how many times is this?
Every time you say, you said
no, I'm not saying that. New Orleans, I said was not a good one. I said they had one good win this year, and that was Green Bay.
But after that, you said the funk's over.
Yeah.
I remember saying
our first show.
This is the type. It's a feel-good win.
This is the type.
First of all, I got to say this about Nick Sirianni, not force-feeding Saquon at the goal line. Saquon could have had 3 touchdowns.
Yeah.
I thought that actually showed some rare restraint from Sirianni, where we're just going to win this game. It's not about, getting a certain guy going. And obviously, Saquon was great. Everybody felt great about Saquon having such a great game against the Giants. This is the type of win that eliminates a funk.
Is the funk?
They haven't given up a defensive. They have not given. The funk is over. They have not given up a touchdown, and a defense hasn't given up a touchdown in 2 weeks.
Again, the Giants.
So still, you play who's on the schedule.
You do. This is definitely something. It was impressive the way that they won in this game against the Giants, who the Dallas Cowboys struggled against, the Commanders struggled against. So when you look at it from a division standpoint, it feels really good. Also, anytime you get to stick it to your old team, and Saquon has the day he had, I mean, every player who's ever played for a team that has to play that team wishes they could have had this type of performance. Absolutely. It's definitely something.
All right, listen, Saquon continues to prove my offseason take about him. This is my worst take of the offseason.
100%.
He's been outstanding.
Absolutely.
Derrick Henry's take was not that great either.
We'll see.
Cowboys.
We'll see.
What was the take?
We'll see.
Derrick
But I
Henry-
want to talk
Derrick
about the
Henry,
more
that
important thing.
That was not a good take.
The
Cowboys, that wasn't good.
We'll see about all those. We will see about all those.
Mark them down, bro.
Also, we'll see about all those, but the Saquon one. But more importantly, if you live in the greater Minneapolis area, and you're friends or family with Greg Jennings, Monday night, if you could do a wellness check or send some baked goods to his house or whatever, because I think Monday night, he's going to be watching Daniel Jones' final start as a New York Giant quarterback, and it's going to be tough for you. Because he has that injury guarantee. Dable already pre-benched him. They play the Steelers. It's going to go bad. It's national TV. And then after that, it's going to be Drew Lock. So Monday night.
Us down to say that.
I'm just letting you know.
I'm going to be okay.
I don't know that you're going to be okay. And so if you could just check in, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just check.
All right. We're talking Philadelphia Eagles. Yeah, of course there was something. Listen, it's not everything, because it was the New York Giants, although it is interesting that the Cowboys struggled against the Giants and the Commanders struggled. Although, the Commanders, Jaden Daniels, his second start, and the Giants also didn't even have their field goal kicker. So that's a weirder game. But yeah, no, the Eagles won that game very convincingly, and the Eagles weren't full strength. They were down 2-0 linemen, down Dallas Goedert. But yeah, having Saquon be that dominant, and just the Philadelphia Eagles in general. Because Nick said that his worst take of the offseason was the Saquon Barkley thing. So, yeah, credit for him for admitting that. But he also said that the Eagles' O-line would be bad, too. And, yeah, Cam Jurgens has been awesome. He said the tush-push isn't going to work, and yet they did the tush-push multiple times, right? So, even Mark Sanchez highlighted how great Cam has been and how it has, the best offensive line coach in the NFL, where Jason Kelce sees him as a father figure. So that also continues to age quite poorly as well. But overall, this game, it felt like the Eagles were actually prepared. I talked about this, especially last week, where I said the run game felt forced, right? It was just, hey, our offensive line's going to smash into the defensive line. We're going to hand the ball off because everyone's telling us Saquon needs to touch the ball. Let's go. This was different. They actually had an actual plan of attack, right? There was actually application on how to get the run game going, how to operate the offensive line in a way that will help the run game, as Mark Sanchez highlighted with a great moment from Cam Jurgens. And so, it actually was intentional. It wasn't forced. And surprise, surprise, you have Saquon Barkley have an awesome, 17 carries for 176 yards, right? With multiple big chunk yards as well. It was just an all-around great game. The pass game was a little wonky at times, for sure. To me, I reached the conclusion as of right now that Jalen Hurts only really feels comfortable with A.J. Brown, right? I mean, he had a beautiful throw, 4th and 3 to A.J., pocket collapsing off his back foot, and just throws a perfect ball. And the thing is, he feels only comfortable with A.J., and it's seemingly for a couple different reasons, though. And it's not like A.J. bails him out, right? Like, A.J., of course, bails out any quarterback at times. But, like, for instance, this game against the Giants, like, he was throwing him perfect balls. It's not like he was throwing balls and was like, oh, I just need A.J. to get up there and make a play for me, right? Like, that's not what it was. But he doesn't throw with that same level of confidence to other receivers. And, yeah, he can hit Devontae, right? He still has some confidence in Devontae. But it's clear that he fully trusts AJ. And I think he's got to figure out how to evolve a little bit out of it. And don't get me wrong, all great quarterbacks have had that, right? Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady and Gronk, like all these guys have it. Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey, right? So whether you're a great quarterback, a Hall of Fame quarterback, or an average quarterback, you do have that go-to guy who is your security blanket, who you can unconditionally trust. And again, it's not always about them bailing you out. It's just knowing that if I throw the ball, they're going to be there. And if it is a 50-50 ball, I trust that they're going to make a play on it, right? They're going to do everything they can to come down with that catch. And so I just would like to see him, his ceiling's already through the roof with his trust with AJ. I would like to see him raise his floor with some of the other guys, right? That's what I would ultimately like to see out of Jalen Hurts. I think it's unfortunate. And you also had another no turnover game, which is great to see. Took care of the ball, never really put the ball in harm's way. He was 10 for 14, 119 rating, 3 total touchdowns, and some huge key runs as well to convert. So he played a really, really good game, right? Again, I don't think there's tremendously strong takeaways because it is the New York Giants. A lot of people tried to sell me on the idea that the Giants are better than what they proved to be. A lot of Cowboys fans trying to act like beating the Giants was this big deal. I don't think so. I don't think that they're as bad as, say, like the Cleveland Browns or something. And I think this game was what a lot of people were hoping to see versus the Cleveland Browns. But listen, they still got it. This was a convincing, dominant, 100% in control win, right? There was never really a moment when you were like, I don't know. Like even when the Eagles went 3-and-out or maybe got a first down and then had to punt, it was never like, oh my God, now the Giants are starting. Like the Giants had no momentum. They never had momentum the entire game. Right? Even when the Eagles technically in the beginning of the game had 0 momentum, the defense still kept it at 0, and then the Eagles got the momentum and never looked back, right? Like you can look at the Bills versus the Tennessee Titans game, right? I think the score ended up being like 34-10, but it was a 1-score game going into the fourth quarter. And at one point, the Bills were down 10-0, right? The Bills ended up dominating and winning that game convincingly. Make no mistake about it. But there were still moments in that game when you're like, I don't know, like what is going on, right? The Eagles never had that with the Giants. That bodes well. That definitely, if you're an Eagles fan, is going to feel pretty good. But you don't see this game and say, we're back, baby. We won this game 28-3. We're going to the Super Bowl, right? Like, you don't think that either. If you do, then you're a Dallas Cowboys fan, and I don't think Eagles fans want to be a Dallas Cowboys fan. But it's definitely a gigantic step in the right direction. And I'm not into the whole supernatural funk. It's not called a supernatural funk. It's called being injured and having terrible coordinators, okay? That's what that's called. But what this shows you more than anything, to me, is that they're not the 2023 Eagles, right? In 2022, but they're not the 2022 either, right? Maybe they can get there this season. I don't know. But right now, we just know that they're not the 2023 Eagles, right? Because the Eagles of 23 would have lost versus the Browns. They would have lost versus the Giants, right? We saw them lose to the Giants, I think, twice. Or maybe they eked out one win and then lost another, I forget at this point. So seeing them be able to convincingly win this game, get the job done, both offensively and defensively, right? They didn't make Daniel Jones look great. And I know they're not fully healthy either, but there was plenty of those games where you're like, wow, of course Daniel Jones had his best game versus the Eagles, right? Like, that's a story that I'm sure a lot of Eagles fans have seen with other teams, when facing other teams where it's like, oh, this quarterback's awful. And then it's like they play them and then that quarterback looks great. And you're like, well, of course they look great against the Eagles. So the fact that the Eagles were able to contain all of that, I think bodes well. So yeah, something or nothing. It's something, but it's certainly not everything. It's certainly not nothing. They got to continue to stack these wins. Jaden Daniels is hurt. I don't really think Dak Prescott and the Dallas Cowboys are really much of doing anything. Although the 49ers team, they're kind of in disarray right now with so many bad injuries. Who knows if now that once upon a time you would have thought that the 49ers, that's an easy win versus the Cowboys. Now you don't know. So this division is heating up for many different reasons, right? I'm not so sure where all these teams stand right now. But it's the Eagles just got to continue to build confidence. Their defense continue to grow. Their defense has definitely been better. And yeah, I think the season's gonna be interesting. I think also the conclusion for the Eagles right now is they are an all or nothing team in the sense of they really need to be healthy with a handful of key players, right? They need Lane Johnson, they need Cam Jurgens, they need AJ Brown, they need Saquon. And of course, they need Jalen Hurts, right? Like, when they have those guys, they can win some games. They can't rely on just Devontae. They can't rely on just Dallas Goedert. They can't lose Lane, right? Like, they can miss a couple of linemen and miss some of the things. They're not going to be as great, but they're not this super resilient, hey, we can just find ways to win, right? That's not who they are. So if they can get lucky, and luck in terms of the gods of the health gods, and they can be healthy at the right times, then I think that they will be a pretty dangerous team. What is their ceiling? I really don't know. I'm not prepared to say, oh, they're a top 5 team. I'm not going to do that either, but they have the potential to be significantly better than what people have seen them play. Again, look at the Packers, and that win continues to age better and better and better. That Packers defense is for real. Jordan Love is for real. Matt LaFleur is for real. Right? So that week 1 victory when the Eagles were fully healthy was a big time win. And it was clearly not perfect for either teams, really. Week 1s can always be tough in Brazil, weird field, and they come out with that win, right? So that to me ages even better. That to me is more who the Eagles are. More that than when they're really injured and what you saw them go up against the Bucs. That was really only their really truly ugly loss versus the Bucs, and they were badly injured. Defense was exhausted. That game just got away from them. And the Bucs are clearly a feisty team as well, right? I won't lose sleep over the Saquon Barkley drop against the Falcons or anything like that. But yeah, the Eagles to me are probably one of the more confusing teams in terms of like where to put them, quite frankly, because of how they've played and the injuries, how the injuries have concretely affected them. I always love when people point to other teams and say, well, this team was injured and look what they did. And it's like, different circumstances, different players, different injuries, different coaches, right? Like if you want to compare, an all-time great in Sean McVay or Andy Reid or something, then it's like, okay, yes, those coaches can probably do better when they're more injured. But you could even see Matthew Stafford and Sean McVay falling apart with their injuries. So it's just, it's trying to predict how an injury will affect a team is always, always very difficult. And just because some teams can make do with certain injury aspects doesn't automatically mean that all teams should be able to do it. And if you can't do it, then it's an excuse or this or that. Like that always falls on deaf ears to me personally. But either way, if you're an Eagles fan, you definitely feel much better about this win than say versus the Browns. But let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I read every single comment, so whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions, let's get in some fights, but ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I'd absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel part of, something that we genuinely feel connected to, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.